Welcome back. It's been a long time. It's been a while, a couple weeks. A lot has happened. UGA still in the SEC title game. Tech missing the ACC title game. Braves made some moves. The Hawks flourishing, but also not at the same time in classic Hawks fashion. And Kennesaw State University is going to a bowl game. They're going to a bowl game. But a lot to talk about here. Welcome back to Georgia Sports with Georgia Boys. My name is Red Rock. I'm your host. My co-host is busy doing stuff in the Army, very important stuff that I wish he could be here for, but he's busy, so gotta fill in. Couldn't really get guests in time, just coming off the Thanksgiving weekend break, so all that was fun. So hopefully everyone here had a great Thanksgiving, a lot of good football, a lot of fun. That Cowboys-Chiefs game had over 61 million people watching. It's crazy. We'll wait to see the Christmas numbers on Netflix, but that is mighty impressive. But we're here to talk about Georgia sports as always, and we've got to start with the biggest thing to come out of this past weekend, and it was clean old-fashioned hate. It was a game that, I thought it would be a little more exciting, to say the least. But I mean, it was something interesting. We've been talking all year so far about, hey, Gunner, maybe he makes a run at the Heisman. Well, Haynes King, he's putting up crazy numbers. If he can just get Tech there, they'll go to the Heisman. But as always, we'll start here with the winners. Georgia to come out with the win, 16-9. Slow, methodical game, but this is the game that I think Georgia fans have been waiting to see for a while, especially from their defense. They came in and they held a Heisman caliber quarterback to 9 points and killed his chances of going to New York. If Haynes King would have had a great game against this defense, it would have been like, oh, Georgia's defense did it again, but it would have been like Haynes King, man, against, at the time, the number 4 team in the country. He might deserve to go to New York, but as we get out here from State Farm, because of course we do, it is, it did not play out that way, which the Dogs, they love it. Say 8th in a row. A lot of fun there. Interesting having the game in Atlanta. I would say for Tech's sake, let's keep this on campuses because it was fun. Looked a little bit empty to me, but probably more red than Tech fans would like to see. But Georgia fans showed out in their second home stadium. They're going to be there next week against Alabama. We'll get to. But yeah, this game, it was a slugfest. It was Gunner did not have his best day as well. The Tech defense came alive after being crap for the past 4 weeks. The passing game wasn't really going, but what was going, which another thing Georgia fans have got to love, is the run game. Nate Frazier, especially in the first half, just took every handoff at least 9 yards. He was running through the teeth of that Tech defense, and that's something the Georgia team has not been able to do all year, is run the ball, demand control, which is why their defense has been on the field a lot more, which is why their defense has been letting more points. Georgia hasn't been able to control the clock like the days of old, that old power running football we want to do. We want to run the ball, and we want to play defense. We haven't been able to do either of those most of the year, and thank goodness for Gunner, who's gotten us through some tough games. But now it's if they can keep this run game going, we'll see against Alabama, who've stout defense, but they defend the run really well. We've already played them once, losing in a very winnable game. So we'll see if they keep that same plan or let Gunner unleash. But I think that this was very good promise and momentum, because Tech coming in, odds of going to ACC championship were low. So this was their all or nothing right here. This is everything they want to do. They want to beat Georgia, knock them out for playing for the SEC, get them out of a bye. And, yeah, at times it looked like that. Gunner threw a pick early. Tech had multiple opportunities, but once again, the defense, like we talked about, came forward, actually got some stops, stifled them, helmed the field goals, and, those small things led them to winning the game. So Georgia's defense looked alive and back in good form. Hopefully they can hold that on. We saw Ty Simpson, what he did, wasn't spectacular, but led that game-winning drive down across the field to get it done. We saw them struggle against Oklahoma. We saw them struggle against Auburn in the second half this past week. So if we can contain Ty Simpson, we should be able to beat Alabama because they can't run the ball for crap. Jam Miller, a cool name, not very productive as a runner. And I like our run D. Secondary's always been, I like our run D. So if we can hold Ty in place, we can go out there and we can run the ball and, gotta make plays. Remember, that Bama game was very winnable. Kirby should have taken the points to tie it up, and then who knows what happens from there. But it was a very winnable game that I believe can be rectified here in our home stadium. Now, we all know about the Kirby, Alabama struggles. Very prevalent. Will that rear its head here? I don't know, because the rumors were that if Bama would have lost in the Iron Bowl, maybe that Bama job would have opened up to a Lane Kiffin, which, despicable. I can't believe he actually left. Not our problem. Not our problem. We'll handle what we do over here on the SEC East. I know there's no more divisions, but this still feels like the SEC each. So we put another chapter into this Bama-Georgia rivalry, and it's going to be a fun one. It was weird for the Dogs not knowing if they were going to make it back to the title game after playing this game on Friday. But once Texas Tech lost later that night, I'm sure they had a fun car ride back to campus. But then they got locked back in. And I just want to touch on something that I know a lot of Georgia fans were wrestling with the past couple weeks, because with these big super conferences, it all comes down to tiebreakers. You know what I mean? We beat Ole Miss, which was their only loss, but we never got to play A&M, who all they had to do was win out and they get in, And some people were saying we should just not lose to Georgia Tech. Of course not. You always want to win this game. Cleveland Ohio Fashion Hate. It means more than ever with Brent Key and Kirby, two former players. Brent Key getting an extension for 5 years. We'll talk about that. But you still feel the intensity of this game. This was an old school football game. To me, saying you don't want to go to the SEC championship game and just accept that you'll have a top 8 seed host a home playoff game and all that sucks for the sport, because the longest time Georgia wasn't winning SEC championships. We'd get there and we'd lose, or we wouldn't. All those times we have to strive for this, because think about it, winning the Natty is going to be so hard. What can you take away from a season to make it feel great? And that is winning the SEC, the best conference in football. I think so. Big Ten's not as deep. I know people like you get the SEC's overrated, and they are, but this year is definitely the deepest. We're about to have 5 SEC teams in the playoff. So, as Gunner makes a good throw here, Zachariah Branch makes a great move. Give Branch the ball. Just give him the ball. Why would you not want to win the SEC? I know you're playing an extra game, risk for an injury, whatever. But now we're I think even if we lose. Well, no. I was about to say, even if we lose, we might fall out of a bye, but it depends how well we play. Because the winner of this game will probably be number 2. Loser of the Big Ten will probably be number 3. And if Texas Tech wins, they'll probably stay at 4. So I don't know why you would not want. I know the first round bye, all the teams on the bye lost last year, but the seeding was weird. Those teams weren't the best at the time. Matchups weren't winning. The whole playoff system was screwed. But I just don't understand why you would want to go all year playing in the SEC, which is adding another conference game, might I add, next year to 9. Why would you want to go play all those games and then not have to right the fight for the league title? Is this going to become basketball where we just give regular season winners to share and no more conference games? That would suck. I would hate that. Don't do that, SEC, which sadly I think the sport is going towards. But I just don't understand why you wouldn't want to go to the SEC championship game and win. You know what I mean? To me, it feels like Georgia fans are just tired of winning. I know if we're better in the long run, but if the team's really that talented and good, then they can just go win it themselves. I know Ohio State, they weren't in it last year, so they had that rest, and they went on their run. This was only a 1-year sample size. I'd be very surprised if all top 4 teams lost coming out of the bye against this group. I mean, it's a lot of parity this year, probably the most parity since 2007. So I would say that with a pinch of salt, but I just don't understand why you wouldn't want to go to the SEC title game, which I think Georgia will win this weekend. I think, Bama, they're limping in. They're limping in. They lost to Oklahoma, struggling against Auburn. The Auburn one was on the road. Weird stuff happens, but I mean, if anything, Georgia gave that game away against Bama, and I think Georgia comes in here determined, focused, realizing, oh, we got a shot now for revenge. I think they win comfortably. I think the Bama curse, of course, doesn't go away. I think Kirby's still, 1-8, 1-7 against Bama. But I think they get it done. There's no Jalen Hurts coming out in the back, in the fourth quarter to make a leading comeback. So I think Georgia gets it done. Not super big, maybe a touchdown. But I just don't think the game will ever feel close. Ty Simpson's having a great season, but so is Gunnar Stockton. And I think this defense has really come alive in the past couple weeks, And look at that pick right there. Hanskin just overthrew it. What a play by number 1, who I'm being told was the highest recruit in Georgia history, playing like it now. Get him locked up on Ryan Williams or Jermaine Bernard. So I think Georgia wins by a touchdown. They win the SEC. They get the 2 seed. And, you get the 2 seed just like last year. People forget, man. It's hard to win the SEC. It's hard to get there. Just because we won last year and we won over LSU a couple years ago and then winning the first time back in 2017 in a long time, because it's hard. It's hard to win the SEC, and it's especially how the playoff is getting. You got to play 4 extra games, hopefully 3. So if you get the bye, what's the point of having a first-round playoff? I know it is. I know first-round playoff games are great, bring money to the revenue, but I just feel like, to me, I'd rather win the SEC than hosting a first-round playoff game. And I was not going to tell you win the SEC, but you probably do both if you go to the game. So, yeah. But Georgia, I think they win by touchdown against Bama, become the 2 seed, and have a pretty okay path comparatively of what's going to happen in the breakdowns. But, yeah, Georgia, man, they're rolling as of late. That looks good. They're looking good. They're probably the best team out of the SEC, and the team most likely win it all. So we'll see if that happens. But yeah, they gotta play. They gotta play. Well, that brings us to the other side of the clean old fashioned hate, and that is good old GT. I mean, they played well. They played really well, and it sucks. Because last time we came on here, they had just lost to NC State, and they had to beat Boston College. They had to beat Pitt to make it, and they end up barely beating Boston College, which rough game. That was tough. I did not like the way that was going. And it was clear signs because Pitt, we got run all over by Pitt in the first half, going down 28-0, which should not happen. Unacceptable at home and senior night. Biggest home game in years, and that happens. Unacceptable. We'll get to Brent Key in a minute, but how do you guys become that unprepared out of the bye 1 against Boston College? And then against Pitt, a team that got steamrolled by Notre Dame a week ago, and they get steamrolled by Miami the week after. It sucked. It sucked. I know we tried to make a comeback with Haynes in the offense, but the defense, man, got to show up. The defense in this game was great. Where was this? If this defense is last week, we are playing in the ACC title game right now against Virginia, and we would win. We're a better team than Virginia. Virginia's fraudulent. They're lucky they get to play Duke, which is some bullcrap. We'll talk about that. But it's just crazy to me how they showed up unprepared, unwilling to just make a play, guys. Just make a play. And it sucked. They showed They did really good in this game. Haynes King got contained, which showed the flaw in this team, which we found out early on was it's either Haynes King or not. The defense did show up, though, in parts against Clemson, against Wake Forest, to clinch the game late, but as a whole, it was Haynes King or bust for this team, and the defense held it down. Haynes King wasn't able to get it done against Georgia, which sucks. They finally showed a good defense. That's them clinching it, but it was tough to watch as a Tech fan after how this all went down. You know, promising 8-0 start. All you had to do was win one more. We beat NC State. We're in the title game. A very winnable game. Now, they had ended up with a respectable record, but still, like, a very winnable game. Pitt was winnable if you don't go down 28-0. And hopefully this is stuff Brent Key can iron out with the guys as he signs a 5-year extension. Congrats. Well-deserved. He's not going anywhere. He's going to stay. And this program's only going to go up. In an ACC that's wide open, there's a 7-5 Duke going to the title game. A league that doesn't have their rules set up right. It's a league that I believe Tech can win next year, which is tough to say because Haynes King is leaving us, but we have Philo in the back. I don't know if Buster Faulkner's going anywhere. A lot of head coaches got signed and stuff and promoted, and Buster's still there. But it's a league that can win. Clemson's going to be rebuilding after the old class. Florida State's on their last slice with Mike Norvell. Do they pull anyone out of the portal? I don't know. Virginia Tech, maybe worried about. I don't know if Franklin can turn them around that quick, but in new college football, you never know. Chandler Morris from Virginia, he's going to leave. You've got NC State and Wake who are going to get better, but this season, inconsistent. Pitt is another one we're going to have to worry about with Mason Heischel, the freshman QB who will be a sophomore, but maybe he transfers somewhere. Who knows? This is all very still early in the process. But Miami losing back, still be talented with Cristobal, but they're not even in the ACC title game right now. I think Kevin Jennings is leaving from FSU, but even though they, Wright Lashley signed an extension, it's a very winnable league that I think Tech has built the program foundation that they can do it. It sucks they got to play Georgia at the end of every year, but even though they can beat them close every time, it's getting closer and closer and closer. It's going to be weird to see what this team looks like without Haynes King, for sure. But we just need some defensive playmakers to come through. If this defense that showed up against UGA was there all year, yeah, we're in the ACC title game. Easy. Easy money. I think the offense will always be humming and delivering. But I want to get to a point where we don't have to score 38 a game to win. You know what I mean? Got some good receivers that had some drops, came up short. Jamal Haynes was great, but I honestly don't think we ran the ball enough with him. Now, I know we had Kings, the RPO, the read option, but I just believe that downhill running is so lost art, especially in a football world where no one can tackle. No one can tackle. But people will say, was this a successful season? I guess we'll wait to see the bowl game. They'll get a pretty good one. They're number 23 right now. 3 losses. But I believe this was a successful season. Took another leap from last year. Once again, played close to Georgia. Was contending for the ACC title game until the last week. So I would say it's successful. It sucks. That's how Haynes King goes. Who? Haynes King. ACC Player of the Year. ACC Offensive Player of the Year. So congrats to you. Don't know if he'll make it to New York for the Heisman. We'll have to see. To wait. The past couple weeks have kind of hurt him. Just because, Heisman is half team success, half you. And Georgia game, he didn't do very well against the best opponent they've played all year. So I don't know if that's going to go out like that. But it was a very fun season. Thank you, Haynes. Legend, as always. We still got the bowl game, and we'll hear other people's thoughts on Tech season as we go through the offseason, as we talk to more people. But it was a fun year. And they played well against Georgia. Played well, mostly. Wish the offense could have done a little bit more. But if you're holding Dunner and Stockton down offense so far to 16 points, if you would have told me that, I would say we won. So, sucks. But ultimately, I would say a successful season. Some people might be more extreme because we blew it, which we did. But getting ourselves in that position, we thought at the beginning of the season, the schedule was easy enough. There were some bumps in the roads, but we were almost there. But let's hope the boys take this season and be like, yo, we can actually do this. But Duke's in the ACC title game. The problem with the ACC is they got to fix their league. We either got to go back to divisions or fix these tiebreakers because there's no way that Duke is a better team than us, better team than Miami, better team than SMU. There's just no way. So, after we beat Duke. So that pisses me off. That pisses me off a lot. So hopefully they get that fixed. Hopefully this whole Super Conference stuff gets fixed. Otherwise, yeah. But in hindsight, they've got BYU at 11-1 right now at 11. So even if we won out and still beat Georgia, maybe we're top 10, maybe we're 9-10, but they would still have us to win the ACC. Otherwise, we would have been bumped, which sucks. But that's the current state of things at GT. We're waiting to hear the bowl announcements, and we'll come back to you guys after that as we move towards the Atlanta Braves, who made some moves so far, but not too much. We traded Nick Allen away for Maurice. I don't know how to say his name. Maurice Dupont. For Maurice Dupont. He is a gadget guy every day. I think Charlie Culberson. And it sounds like he'll play shortstop mostly, but I hope this is not our long-term fix for a shortstop. I don't want that. I don't think that's much of an upgrade from Nick Allen. The Blue Jays signed Dylan Cease to a 7-year big contract. Nothing yet on Bo Bichette. Praying for Bo Bichette in the A. We re-signed Raisel Iglesias. Great move for a 1-year deal. He'll be great. Love that. He'll come in. We got some reliever help with Ryan Roslin, left-hander from the Rockies. Just another guy. The bullpen was poo-poo last year, so we've got to bring in a reset, bring in some new pieces. And we've officially let Ozuna and Charlie Morton walk, which sucks for both. One, Morton, legend, taking that ball off the leg in Game 1 of the World Series. Glad he got his send-up. And Ozuna, man, who's just come on. Could have won the MVP in that COVID season. He's been an insane hitter, but he's just slowly declined. And we've got people that can fill his role. Drake Wall. People talking about Trey Sharp Murphy, Drake Wall. Just put the other one at DH. Or go get Tyler Tucker. But whoever isn't playing, just put him at DH over Ozuna, which sucks, but both are signed. We can't spend that money. We got to spend it somewhere else. Maybe on Bichette. Maybe on Pete Alonso, who could play DH. So, that's the current state of the Braves. Nothing new. Nothing crazy-wise. Just fun, small moves so far. Making a little bit of the impact. But I think it's time we talk Atlanta Hawks, which we talked a little bit on briefly last time. But I think we need to talk about them again as we're getting a little bit into the season now, and the Hawks are still your typical middling of the East team. We're 13-10 right now without Trae, who's only played 5 games. But there's this fun identity to this team that they're fun to watch. Now, we're classic Hawks, middle of the road, 500. But they've got the defense is actually playing defense. We are stout without Trae. Finally using the size, which I hoped we would with Kristaps, Jalen Johnson, Onyeka Okongwu, and of course Tyson Daniels, the GOAT. They're stealing the ball, and the offense is humming. Jalen Johnson, man, 23, 10, 7. People are saying early MVP talks, which I, of course, would love here in Atlanta, but I don't think that is what it's going to pan out. But he should get consideration. He just dropped 41-14 the other day. he is humming. And I believe that it's tough because we've had Trae for so long and took us to the Eastern Conference Finals, but he could never play defense. We always had help around us, and that team was so good. So good with the role players, and they hum so well. But I think we're trying to finding the chemistry we had in that late 2021 Nate McMillan era with this squad. Jalen's been doing great. Nickeil Alexander-Walker's been one of the best free agent pickups of the league. That trade for Porzingis, he hasn't played a lot, but when he's on the floor, he's doing what he usually does. He's getting you his 18. He's getting you stretching the floor with that size. And Nyeke's been great. Finally being that defensive anchor we thought he could be. Dyson Daniels, nothing more to say. The great barrier thief, the GOAT. But we've been getting guys like Luke Kennard, Mohamed Gay, and Vicha off the bench, just giving you meaningful minutes and points, as well as the rookie Asa Noel, who's been there in brief moments, but he pops when he's on there. He pops when he's on the court. Zachary Richardson, second year, had some good games last year. Still looking for him to explode. I've been seeing stuff where he's like, is this the most irrelevant number one pick of all time? Yada, yada, yada. He might be, which sucks. It sucks for the 1 year we get the first pick, but no one from that draft has really been crazy. So it's kind of just whatever. It's kind of just been whatever. But there's still time for him to grow. We've seen these people grow. And then, Trae Young, when he's out there, he's done stuff, but he's still injured. So we'll see how this team keeps rolling. They're fun. We got to start winning close games, guys. We got to start closing games out. But, sitting right there in the 8th of the East, it's just classic Hawks. I mean, classic Hawks being number 8 in the play-in. But there is talks about what could happen if the Hawks made a move with Trae. Now, if you don't remember, we've got the first pick from New Orleans in that Derek Queen trade. We traded back 10 spots. They took Derek Queen. We got their first round pick, and we got Asa Noel. Now, at the time, I love Derek Queen. I wanted him in here. But the Pelicans are trash, and Zion's out for a good bit now, which means their pick is only going to get better. As well as we gave Cleveland our first-round pick, or we gave San Antonio our first-round pick in that DeJounte Murray trade, which don't know why we did that. But we have Cleveland's first-round pick, who look like they're middling now, maybe will be better. So we're currently slated to have 2 first-round picks. And we've got New Orleans projected number 1 right now. And they're saying this is one of the great draft classes coming up. You got, let's just look at the names. If we did a mock draft, they've got us selecting Cameron Boozer. You got Darrington Peterson. You got AJ Dibanesta. And Caleb Wilson and Nate Emmett, not bad as well. So is Copay. But Cameron Boozer in an Atlanta Hawks uniform. Next to Jalen Johnson. 2 former Duke Blue Devils. I love that. I love that. Now, if we move Trae, we've got to make sure we keep this first-round pick. Because I'm not getting rid of a generational guy for not to have another generational guy. What do we get if we move Trae? I say we just do picks. If the Lakers, I don't think the Lakers need him anymore the way Austin Reeves and Luka are playing. It's tough to see where Trae fits because his floor is high. What he can do offensively, which is like I will like him, and I want to keep Trae. As of right now, I want to keep Trae unless better avenues are revealed. I want to keep Trae because he just raised our offensive floor. Just defense goes way down when he's on it. I don't know what teams need him right now in an offensively driven league to really make a move worthy. I guess I would just ask for picks back. I like the role players we have right now, but there is someone that just asked for a trade, and his name is Giannis Antetokounmpo. Now, Giannis, if we're making a trade for Giannis, do we give up Jalen Johnson? That's tough. Giannis is already getting paid a bunch of money. He's on the older side. Probably got about 6 to 8 more years dominant left. Jalen Johnson, just getting started, third year. Hasn't been paid yet, so we're going to have to pay him, but we don't know what he could be. But we know Giannis is. So we're trying to win now or win long term, which for the Hawks, I would say for us, it'd be smart to win long term than win now. So I would not move Jalen Johnson. But I would send Trae Young to the Bucks to get Giannis Antetokounmpo. I could see a world where they might not want Trae as offensively, but we give him our first-round pick this year. Trae, our first-round pick this year, and, maybe a second-round pick, maybe a first in a couple of years. Maybe a first in a couple of years or something for Giannis and maybe another piece. I would do that trade in a heartbeat. I would trade our Pelicans first-round pick this year to get Giannis on this team this year. Giannis, Jalen Johnson, Kristaps, Onyeka, come on. And then people, which a big problem Atlanta has never had, no one wants to come play for us in free agency. No one wants to come live in Atlanta. But hell, they'll come play with Giannis. We get Giannis here with Jalen Johnson. We're South, capital of the South. I think people would want to come and tune in and see. I honestly do. I think people would want to come play with Giannis here in Atlanta. In the East, which is way easier to win than the West, Jason Tatum's still injured. The Knicks, whatever. Detroit's popping off, but Cavs aren't as good as they were last year. Sixers are always middling. Maybe we can make a move, to go with the Giannis thing. Maybe we move Zachary Ricochet as well. I'm just spitballing here, but I think if they got on the phone and said, we want your first-round pick in a generational draft class coming, we'll take your first-round pick for Giannis, and we can move Trae as well for that money offload, I do it. Sorry, Trae, but if I can have a top 3 player in the league in Giannis, I would. I would, because you've seen he can just will his way him stay there, and he makes everyone else better. And a team that's young and growing, that's what I like to see. So Giannis to Atlanta confirmed? I hope so. I hope so, but that's all on the Hawks right now. We'll talk more vibes, but yeah, Jalen Johnson's been popping. Team is still, of course, 500 basically, but we're playing well as we move near the end of today's episode. Shorter than usual. It's hard to talk when you're back and forth with people, but shout out Kennesaw State. In this Conference USA title game, they're playing big bugs, playing for a way to get into a nice bowl game, which brings up a point. Let's just do a group of 5 playoff, so then they can get a bye since they won their conference. Do 12 teams there as well. The winner of the American Mountain West, MAC, CUSA, the WAC, and then who am I forgetting? The Sun Belt. There you go. There's your 6, and then everyone else, the other 6 best file in. I think that'd be fun. That would be fun. But shout out Kennesaw State, man. Second year in FBS, gonna go to a bowl game, could win the title. Kennesaw State basketball is also doing good. Yeah, we'll get into college basketball, more of that stuff, more as football season progresses away. But yeah, clean old fashioned hate happened. Good game, good old football. Rivalry still alive, which is good to see. Brett Key staying around. Georgia going to the SEC championship game. I think they'll win. I think they'll beat the 2 seed. Hawks should trade for Trae Young. Hawks should trade Trae Young for Giannis. The Braves still waiting for a big move. Could happen any now. Winter meetings are coming soon. maybe Boba Fett for a future. AA still says he wants to make one big move and have a top 5 spending salary cap. So we will see. As always, I've been Red Rocket. This has been Georgia Sports with Georgia Boys. See you in 2 weeks.